In September 2017, all the way until August 2018, so over 11 months, almost a year, Helen and I spent our time cycling around Europe. This was always the plan, was to take between 4 and 12 months, so up to a full year, to cycle tour, basically, to travel, see the world, see Europe specifically. And we packed in our jobs, we moved out of our flat in Glasgow, and we moved onto our bicycles, and we did this for 11 months. In the end, we met other cycle tourists, and they really recommended that we take a detour into Morocco. Since we were going to the very south of Europe, it was just a short ferry to get across to Africa. It was amazing. It was my first time out away from Europe, and it was both of our first time on Africa. So the whole tour, the whole period of travel was an absolutely incredible experience, and in particular Morocco was just absolutely unforgettable. We recommend to anybody who's even remotely interested in travel, cycling, and seeing the world, that you just go and do it. Do it in the same way that we did. So travel by bicycle is one of the best things you can do. You get to travel through places very slowly, see everything that's in between. Try it, it's amazing. But basically, when we got back from that trip, when we got back in August of 2018, we were through with cycling as a leisure activity. We were ready to spend some time away from our bicycles. We did still use them as utility vehicles to get from place to place. They're a very sort of eco-friendly, healthy alternative to driving a car. So we did that, but it wasn't really a thing of enjoyment for us anymore. Enjoying a bicycle ride was kind of out of the question for a while. We'd done enough of it. Once you've cycled in the Atlas Mountains, around the coast of really beautiful places in Europe, life is good right now. Greece, for example, Croatia, the mountains in the north of Spain. Just cycling around Sheffield is a bit disappointing. This period of 11 months of cycling everywhere, using our legs to propel ourselves around the surface of this earth we find ourselves on, it left us very fit, and also we were very proud of the fact that we were able to use our bodies to really thoroughly enjoy our life, and we wanted to do something else, physical, active and enjoyable, but we didn't want to be on our bicycles anymore. I tried running for a little while. There's a certain amount of enjoyment to be had running, like you get a lot of blood pumping, there's endorphins, all these things, but for me, after spending 11 months without doing any weight-bearing exercise, my knees were a bit weak, and after every run I'd have sort of pain and discomfort in my knees that just really ruined any enjoyment that I got out of the run itself. It wasn't on balance the right thing for me. Now, Helen, in her time as a PhD student, had previously discovered climbing as a really fun physical activity, a sport or a pastime that she really enjoyed. She was hit by the curse of many hobbyists, where as soon as you have that actual financial investment and buy your gear, that's when you seem to just stop going. She really loved it, bought the shoes, didn't go again. Because she still had these climbing shoes kicking around, and we'd been reunited with our belongings after only having with us what we had on the bikes for like a year, she was reunited with these shoes and suggested that we go down to the university sports facilities and try bouldering. I'd been there once before, so I'd been as an undergraduate, and I really enjoyed my time bouldering there with friends. I had a brilliant time, but I got very tired very quickly, and I didn't really have any upper body strength. Because it made me feel weak, I didn't really do it again. Now, after the cycle touring, by this point, I'm in my late 20s, and I'm much less concerned about how I look to other people. I'm married, don't care. So this lack of self-consciousness allowed me to enjoy the climbing even more when I revisited. I found it really fun, it was really addictive, and one of the things that was most satisfying about climbing, the best thing that I found, was being able to see the progress from session to session. I was constantly wrestling with my own limitations. Now, I'd done this in the cycle tour. I'd come across a hill that was an absolute beast that I needed to get my way up, and so I just had to do it. So with this sort of new mindset of really getting a lot of satisfaction out of coming up against my limitations and really wrestling with them, I enjoyed that on the cycling trip, and now I was able to do the same thing in climbing. The body adapts to the amount of work that you demand from it. So as I was climbing multiple sessions a week, every time I went, I'd feel a little stronger than the time before. And measuring my progress was this really satisfying thing, this really rewarding part of climbing. Now, the climbing itself, there's an intrinsic enjoyment in the process of climbing up a wall from the bottom to the top, working out how to do it, working out, am I strong enough to do it this way? Do I need to figure out something else? All these kind of things, really enjoyable. But the progress was an awesome part that really, really added to my enjoyment. So at the same time that our enthusiasm for climbing was growing and we were going several times a week, I was also in a point where I was practically unemployed. I was working on a long-term project which seemed utterly interminable. I couldn't finish, or at least it felt like this project was really being stretched out, of making a film out of our cycle travels, what eventually became Slow Motion, A Year by Bike. And we did get success with it, but at the time when I was making this, I really needed to feel like I was moving forwards in my life. Everything else seemed to kind of be on pause, or at least I didn't really have any measurable progress outside of climbing. And because I was able to get it from my climbing, it became very important to me. And a really sort of essential part of my day would be when I would go to the climbing wall. I would really get a lot out of that. By offering me this like measurable progress, climbing really did a lot to bolster my self-esteem, my confidence, and my sense of purpose as well. I was able to move forwards in at least one aspect of my life at this time, when other areas of progress were very sort of subtle and immeasurable and vague. With climbing, it was very straightforward at this point. I feel really good about that. Climbing became so important to me for those reasons, but also we went to see both the Dorm Wall and Free Solo. Now, this was a really great year for climbing films. Two great documentaries that were all about the incredible achievements of two incredible athletes, two incredible climbers. So Tommy Caldwell with his first ascent of the Dorm Wall alongside Kevin Jorgensen. Climbers will know all about the film, and if you haven't seen it, it's a really impressive achievement. And without going into too much detail on the specifics, it's made even more impressive because Tommy loses an index finger and is still able to be an absolute pioneer in the sport. Incredible stuff. And then Alex Honnold, Free Solo, you're more likely to be aware of this one if you're a non-climber. He basically climbed the same cliff, the same sort of big rock face, but a different route up it, a more established route. He did that with no ropes, no safety equipment whatsoever, just himself, a chalk bag, and climbed what normally takes people several days or even a couple of weeks. He climbed in a few hours, absolutely no safety equipment, an absolutely incredible feat. So despite the fact that these are, really incredible achievements, going on this 11-month cycle tour with Helen, we know just how much a mere mortal is capable of achieving if they're willing to put in the commitment to actually following through on their ideas, but also when they have the right combination of motivation and sort of fearlessness and just choosing to actually put into action what they want to, making their dream a reality. Anyone can do it. It doesn't matter what your dream is. If you make the commitment to achieve it, you will eventually. There are obviously prerequisites. You need to hit certain requirements, and the higher and loftier your dreams are, the more requirements there are to meet. But mortals are capable of a lot. There's nothing special. Okay, maybe this isn't quite right. There's nothing inhumanly special about Tommy and about Kevin and about Alex Honnold. Nothing. They're just really committed to making their dreams a reality. Now, I don't have the dream of pioneering a free climb route at the absolute limits of the sport of climbing. I don't have the dream to climb a huge cliff without any safety equipment. But seeing those achievements and the scale of those achievements and what went into achieving them and the amount of enjoyment and fulfillment that these people got out of their achievements, it really lit a fire within me to pursue my own climbing goals and sort of lit up my imagination for what I might eventually achieve in my relationship with rock. And to be honest, let's be honest, so far my relationship with plastic bolted onto the walls of chalky halls full of smelly people and even smellier shoes. But I am very enthusiastic for where my climbing might eventually take me, just like building this amazing experience from the act of just riding a bicycle. I was able to have an incredible experience that I will remember for the rest of my life, and it's just a really simple thing, pushed to those places that our minds dream of. Amazing. So we got back from the cycle tour and lived in Sheffield for a while. When we then moved after a few months to Germany, we took our enthusiasm for climbing with us, and in Mainz we frequented a place called Blockwerk and also Nordwand, where we started to do rope climbing for the very first time. We kept up our habit of climbing multiple times in a week, and over the course of living in Germany we were able to see our bodies getting stronger, more capable of taking us up these climbing routes. Our minds became more accustomed to the way that these routes were set up in the gyms. Outdoors, we started to see climbing holds and potential routes all over the place. Now, we had developed the superpower when we were cycle tourists of seeing wild camping spots anywhere, because most of the time we were camping outdoors. Wherever we wanted to end our cycling, we would just look for somewhere to camp. This perception, this sort of superpower of perception came about, that we can now, wherever we go, we always see potential camping spots. Now, as climbers, we're seeing potential climbing routes. I'm constantly thinking, oh, if I had my climbing shoes, it would be really nice to have a go at that. Again, during our time in Germany, we arranged a trip to America. The purpose of this visit was to see friends who live in Los Angeles, and also with them to go on a hiking trip around the Yosemite Valley and see the landmarks and things there. Obviously, as really enthusiastic climbers, we also had to go and see the Hollywood sign and boulder under it for like hours. The Hollywood sign in Hollywood boulders. It was one of the first things we went to see as soon as we arrived. And again, once we got to Yosemite, we couldn't resist going and bouldering around Camp 4 and the rest of the Yosemite Valley, despite the fact that we really needed to be able to to do this 3-day wilderness hike, where we'd be carrying all of our equipment and camping along the way. We wanted to be able to do that without injury. I'd already injured my knee from the climbing competition where I fell in Germany, in Mainz, my first ever climbing competition. I was recovering from one injury and didn't want to get another one, but we did risk it. We had no bouldering mat with us. I shouldn't have done that without a mat and a spotter. That was scary, but fun. Yeah, I think we're going to take it easier now, because I don't want to feel like that again. Now, all of the things that we get out of climbing, they'll be really well understood by any of you watching who are climbers. You know what it brings to your life, and you know how much enjoyment, how much satisfaction, how much belonging, and all of these things that you can get out of it. But we got all of these things previously from cycle touring. On the cycle tour, we were able to experience the world more fully. We were able to demand more of our bodies, really put them to the good use that they're capable of, finding the limitations of what we're able to do and pushing those boundaries ever so slightly further and further as we got to know them more and more intimately through hard effort. And the satisfaction of achieving something from sustained hard effort is incredible. We got that from cycle touring. We now get it from climbing. Both cycle touring and climbing have expanded our view of our own capabilities. We know now that we're capable of much more than we ever thought was possible. And again, we're able to build on that and do more and more. And there's immense satisfaction in being able to do that. It's a really valuable outcome. At the end of every day cycling, we were able to feel incredibly proud of our achievements regularly at the end of the day, all the time. This sense of pride. We might be in pain, we might be really tired, but that feeling of pride in yourself really it's one of the things that people pursue in life, and you can get it through climbing, you can get it through cycle touring, both amazing activities. So all of these things that we got from our amazing cycle tour for 11 months around Europe and Morocco, we now get from climbing, and we're able to fit it around our way of life that as it is now. Being back at work, having other commitments, having a more, routine, everyday, normal life. We fit our climbing around that more ordinary experience, that more ordinary existence, but we're still able to get a lot of the things that we got from this amazing experience that not many people do. I mean, more should. You should try it. If you want to do a cycle tour, do it. But you don't need to have these big sort of once in a lifetime experiences. You don't need these big expeditions to get all of the value that we got from that experience. We get this now in small doses several times a week by pulling ourselves up plastic holds or real rock outdoors to get from ground level to slightly higher, challenging our bodies, challenging our minds to figure out how to get us to the top. We get so much out of it. That's our current relationship with climbing, and we love it. If you're a cycle tourist, go climbing. If you're a climber, consider going on a cycle tour, especially if you can fit all your gear in the luggage and go climbing whilst you're doing it. It's kind of a shame that we weren't climbers when we went cycle touring. There were some amazing places. We saw quite a few people rock climbing in Morocco as we were cycling through the Atlas Mountains, and to be able to really be more closely acquainted with the rocks and the beautiful landscapes there by, you know, climbing up through them rather than just snaking your way through on a bicycle would have been amazing. Cycle touring's great, climbing's great. If you already do one, try the other. You will not regret it. Amazing stuff. If you made it this far to the end of the video, you obviously like what we're doing, so consider subscribing. There'll be a little link in the end screen where we'll also recommend a couple of other videos for you. So yeah, check them out. Follow us on Instagram, on Facebook if you're there. You could be one of our first Twitter followers. We do have a Twitter and we are actually tweeting, but so far we're shouting into the void. So go and check us out there. Shout out to Hannah Morris, who is our first commenter, doing great stuff with her vlog. Check them out. But yeah, most of all, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.